Okay, welcome to Bitrix Live. I'm Damien Edwards from Bitrix Partners Interface, and with me I've got our support manager Andy Naylor.
Hi guys, so we're here for the next hour and we're going to be answering any questions that you may have about Bitrix, and we can show you on the screen here. So please send us your questions in the box provided on YouTube. You can tweet us at Interface, and you can also send us an email to live@interface.com. And if you have any questions throughout the week, then please send us an email to live@interface.com and we can answer them on the next session. So we're here every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So like I say, we're here to answer any questions. I think we've had a couple coming already.
We've got a question in on email. Essentially, do I always need to use a lead in order to generate a deal? So let's have a look. Let's have a look at that. Do I always need to use you don't need to use. I mean, the straight answer is you don't need to use a lead to create a deal. You can create a deal from scratch. In fact, you don't need. You need to assign a deal to. You need to give the deal a name. You don't need to assign a deal to a company or a contact, I don't think. So, really, you can create a deal without a lead. We'll just run through, I guess, what we have in terms of modules within the CRM within Bitrix. So we'll look down here. Let's bring some of these in up here so we can see the main modules. So we have leads, deals, companies, contacts, quotes, and invoices. So that would actually be probably the order that you would generate these items within usually. So depending on how your business operates, you would create a lead in the beginning. Reason why you might want to use leads is if you need to qualify out certain opportunities that are not right for your business. You might generate a lead. You might then progress through, let's open up a lead, progress through a series of different stages here that might have some automation built in. You might progress through those stages and then convert the item when you're happy to one of these different records or combinations of records. So typically, I guess, a lead gets converted to a company and contact, but if you want to, you can also create a company, contact, and a deal. If you create a deal, any products added to the lead at the beginning are converted or copied over into the deal itself. So if you're selling products, you're probably going to need to convert a lead into a deal. Your initial process is leads if you need to qualify out. So I guess if you've got a lot of inquiries, if you receive inquiries from a lot of different sources, you can capture leads from incoming telephone calls, incoming emails, if the email address doesn't match that already exists in the system, web forms, various other opportunities to capture those inquiries and save them as leads within Bitrix chat widgets that Bitrix has that are available to create, to add to your website. So that you would use leads if you wanted to capture them from these sources and then qualify them. If you didn't need to, if you're not dealing with large numbers of inquiries, we have a business that deals with a broker that deals with aircraft. They sell about 5 aircraft a year. They have a handful of clients, and as such, they don't really need to use leads. They don't get a lot of new clients. So in that case, if they got a new client, they would just add them as a company or a contact using straight into here. So they don't need the leads module at all. In that case, you would go to CRM mode and you would choose classic, which includes leads, deals, and contacts, or you would just go into simple mode. So if you change the simple mode, that removes the leads feature completely, and that's right, as I say, for some businesses. Just to finish up, really, leads. In fact, let's just reorder this. So really, you have really you have it something like this. So a lead becomes a company and a contact and a deal if you want it to become a deal. A deal is a general opportunity, so gives you different stages. Of course, you can name these stages to suit your sales process. You can add products to deals, I guess critically. Let's add a couple of products to this deal. If your products have values in, you can add, it'll automatically add up that value. If I save this, now I have a deal. Which has a total value. It has a stage, and it's associated with a company and a contact. And I can from this deal I can generate a quote or a series of quotes. So I think the reasons why you might use deals and quotes is if your initial inquiry is a general inquiry and you want to just input in here an estimated figure for this this particular opportunity, and then if you need to then provide specific quotes for that to the client, you can then generate a quote from the deal, and you could generate more than one quote from a deal. So you could generate a quote for different options for the client to help them make the right decision. The other thing about a quote, if we click into a quote, which you can't do in a deal, is you can generate a PDF or indeed email a PDF. Send a PDF directly by email from the system. So you can't do that, create that quote PDF or presentation that you send to the client. We can also customize these quite a lot now.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I think that leads on to sort of another question that we had, which with regards to the ability to create documents inside Bitrix. So if we went into a quote, for example, here, and clicked into new website, Bitrix now has a really good document template editor. So if I was to click on the documents here, then clicked on to our documents, then you can see here we can create new documents. So let's just click on add new template here. It comes with some pre-existing ones. What we would usually recommend doing is downloading a pre-existing template, and the template is in a Word document. So it's really simple to edit, and the question that we always get asked is how do we use the information inside Bitrix onto that particular quote? And it's really simple. You click on the gear icon at the top, you click into the fields, and you have then access to every field that exists in this particular as a quote. So if I wanted to add maybe the amount of the quote into the template, just a simple case of copying and then pasting it into your Word document in the right location that you want. So it's not just, I know Damien just spoke about the quote templates. What this actual document editor tool allows you to do as well, it allows you to create documents that don't really exist in Bitrix already. So it may be that you have a purchase order template. It may be that you have in this case you can see here, a packing sheet. Can have a delivery note. You can create any amount of documents, and if you wanted to, for example, it's not just in the quote section, if we go into a particular deal, we could then generate that document within a deal as well. So we may say, let's create a purchase order or order confirmation at the negotiation review stage. So you don't just have to be in a quote, you can generate these documents inside the other elements as well.
Yeah, that's quite a new feature and much sought after feature, I think. So you should be using that. We're starting to use that now. But yeah, I think we finished off. Just to finish off quickly, you can generate quotes, from which you can generate PDFs, send those PDFs, style those PDFs up. The final module really is invoices. So if you win a quote, if you want to, you can create a business process that would generate an invoice from that quote. Maybe we'll come back to that in a minute. Actually, we have a question, but I'll probably come back to how you might want to use a business process to generate an invoice from a quote. We have a question on why I cannot filter out the months the month's birthdays. I'm not too sure what you mean, but if you mean you want to do a filter by, I think if you go into contacts, there's a birthday field in here. Let's have a look. Do we have data? We have a date of birth. We don't have a birthdays as such. Maybe you want to filter out. Let's put a date of birth in here. Maybe you want to filter by date of birth. 8th of November 2018. If we go back into contacts, and we're now in our contacts full list view. If I use the filter, do we have date of birth available in this filter? Pretty much all the fields are available in filters, but actually in some areas they're not available. But I can filter by. See, this isn't birthdays. This is date of birth. So I'm not sure how useful this is going to be, but I can filter by.
Yeah, I would probably. I mean, you can filter by custom range. I don't know if that would work actually. Can we say month? But you would have to give the year. That's the only problem.
Yeah. So this will give me my contact because his date of birth is in this. But yeah, it looks like a standard. You can't do a filter of who's. Of your prospects whose birthday is this month. It'd be possible to do that using a customization. You probably need the self-hosted version to do that, but that would be straightforward. Of course, you can view users' birthdays in the standard widget on the right-hand side. This shows me whose birthdays it is. I think within the coming 30 days. So in fact, we can see December here. It probably shows the next 2 months. If you're on the self-hosted, you'll be able to configure exactly what it shows probably the next couple of months. Maybe in fact, it probably just shows you the next 4 up and coming, I imagine. That's what you sort of like configure.
I mean, maybe what you could do in the CRM if you did want to report on birthdays is you can easily create a custom field and you could put birthday month. So if we went to settings here, clicked on form and report settings and clicked on custom fields, we could add a string field that just said birthday month. We could add a string field, and then you could then report on any data from your birthday month in here. So you could get a little bit more complex if you wanted to, so you can see birthday month. And you can even have a drop down here with January to December, and you'd be able to select. You could make it a little bit more complex on the self-hosted, that you could enter your date of birth and a business process could then fill the custom field in with the month. That may be possible on the self-hosted version.
Yeah, let's just finish off. I mean, we mentioned within quotes what you might want to do. So I'm in a quote list view. Let's just open up the status so I can see that in this view. What you might want to do in quotes is when you approve it, you might want to generate an invoice in the system. If we open up the quote, we can generate an invoice by clicking on invoice here. Let's just do that. I think that would probably change the status of the quote to 1. Okay, we need to put we probably need to put a few mandatory fields in there. I'll not do that right now. So yeah, we can generate an invoice from a quote. It will change the quote status to 1. There's a second way of doing it, which might allow you to do additional things like sending out notifications. So we'll probably just have a quick look at that. If I go into my more and settings and into automation and into business processes, and if we go, you can't do it on quotes. So you can't run a business process on a quote. You can run them on a lead or a deal. Okay, let's say we wanted to do it from a deal. Let's see if we can do it from a deal. Can we generate
I probably wouldn't do it this way. If you're going to generate a quote
invoice from a deal?
Yeah, what I would recommend doing is if we go back into where we were and click into the settings for the CRM, click into automation and click into deals. What generally we could have is we could have a stage that said, I don't know, promised. Let's go in here, just click off this. And then for the employee, we can create using source. So then we could generate an invoice based on that.
Okay, and so you can do it. So this would automatically change this, or automatically generate an invoice from this deal when we update the stage of the deal to promised. You might want to then just add in some additional things like an email. Maybe you need to email the client. You could do that automatically. So two things would happen: you create the invoice and you would email the client. Okay.
So I had a question this week come through, just really on one of the training sessions that we did, and just to point out, just to reiterate, just going back to who we are Interface. We are gold partners of Bitrix24. We'll put these details a little bit later on, but I carried out some training this week, and they just wanted to know really just with regards to what deal pipelines were, because it's something that it's not necessarily clear when setting up Bitrix, but if we jump into the deals section, what Bitrix offers you the ability to do is segregate your deals into different pipelines, and that allows you to not only have a sales funnel per pipeline, but it also allows you to have different stages and different processes per pipeline. So they're very straightforward to set up, and once you've set them up, you can switch between pipelines. So here's an example of some pipelines that we have in here. So we've got a website design pipeline where all our website design opportunities drop into, whereas we have a logo design pipeline where all our logo design opportunities drop into.
I think quite a good example of this, where business might use different pipelines, would be an estate agency where they have a lettings and a sales department. They both have very different pipelines. They both have very different stages that they have to go through in the sale, things that they need to do in order to complete the sale. So if you have different distinct areas of your business, then that's where you might use pipelines.
Yeah. So once you've set these up, if we just go into the settings and we just go into that was where I was going to automation and click into deals. What we can do here is select the pipeline, and then you can see that we can have one automation set of stages and rules for one pipeline compared to another, and that's where Damien just mentioned, just with regards to the estate agents process. You're going to have a complete set of different automation rules compared to from lettings to sales.
The other things you can do with different pipelines, different permissions, different access permissions. So you could have a team that works in one pipeline that can't see deals from another pipeline, and you can do reporting separately as well. So report on how many you've won and lost, etc. separately.
Yeah, so you can see here that we're in the pipeline. We can see the sales funnel for the website design pipeline, and you can see the values of where these particular opportunities are at what particular stage, and you can switch and report between these different pipelines in here. So it does offer quite a great way of segmenting your opportunities and then reporting on those opportunities as well.
Okay, so we've got a question about the extranet. What does the extranet mean? Can my extranet users see details in my CRM? And will my extranet users be given a login and password? So we have access to an extranet here. So we're on a self-hosted version here. So I've accessed the extranet. First thing is, if you're on a self-hosted, you can have it on your own domain. If you're on a professional cloud, you can have it on your own domain. So I think still on a self-hosted, you can have a separate domain for the extranet. In fact, you can have a separate domain, or you can just publish the same domain. So you could publish, if you host it on portal.mycompany.com, you can invite your clients into that address and your internal users. the clients will get redirected to the extranet area. So there's no danger of them logging into your site, and that leads on to, will they see my CRM information? They can't, under the terms of the license, they can't access anything within the CRM. They can't access any HR tools either. So no, they won't. If you wanted them to, then no, they can't. As part of the license, what they can see essentially is a work group. So they will see all the features of a work group, which is a big chunk of the functionality really of Bitrix, in terms that they can see tasks and they can access tasks, add their comments. If you want to give permission to add comments, they can do that. They can access the activity stream and comment inside there, can access the calendar of the work group. They can access documents that are stored inside that work group. So you can share documents with clients like this. You can chat with them using the instant messenger tool. You can have a video call with them. Do all this functionality with a client or a supplier or any other third party you decide to invite in as an extranet user. Just on the workgroup, the last thing is lists. So it might be that actually, as part of a project, you want to store a list of costs associated with materials you've bought for that project, or in this case, expenses. So you could give a client access to this list as well, and I can see things like flights and hotels in here. So they get a lot of functionality, but they don't get any of the sales functionality. Bitrix itself, every time you load a new page, it authorizes the user to be able to access that page. So should they know or guess a URL of a page in your CRM, they won't be able to access it. They'll get a no access message. So the other question is, will my extranet be given a login and password? So if you're on the cloud, then I think you invite them in, invite users here, invite users. You can invite them external user. There we go. So you can invite them external user. You need to choose a group, a work group. They can't access the system unless they belong to a work group. Choose a group and send them an email, and it'll give them a username and password. I think it actually asks them to register, create their username and password using this process. But they'll be given the login page where to go to, and they'll be asked to create a username and password. So there's different options about how you can invite people in. I think you can register. Sure, if you can register them, I think you can probably give them this link as well, and they can register themselves. Don't know if you can register users on the cloud yourself. We just have a look on the self-hosted quickly. So user list. Would we do it in here? Would we create a user in here or not for extra user?
No.
Add in user, can't you?
I mean, you can. What we would usually recommend is if you've got a large batch of extranet users, you could import them into here. But if you are going to invite them in, we would generally recommend you to always use the invite tool, and that will give you the ability to drop them in. If you're on the self-hosted, you can obviously have a business process that does that.
Let's have a look at that. So yeah, so you can, just go back, you can set them up, but I mean probably you wouldn't do that. We wouldn't recommend doing that. You can manage them then inside here. So if I need to deactivate somebody, I can go into that user and I can we find their field somewhere in here. I think it's oh, is it? Do we do it? Where do we deactivate users? Do we do it on here? Okay, deactivate. Okay, so you can deactivate users and manage users. You can change their password, change details of their profile details within here. The other thing you can do on the self-hosted is if I put my users into a group, so you've got a bit more flexibility in terms of what you can do in terms of permissions. If I put my users into a group inside here, then oh no, I was looking for I think it's probably changed. Let's just go back to the user list. No, I was looking for the option to be able to auto expire a user after a period of time. You used to be able to do it within the group. I think it's probably changed. It's just you can certainly set things like, you can certainly define things like the security levels, so you can define what sort of length of password they should have. So this one's set at low, you can set it to high, automatically requires them to have a 10-character password and things like that. So do quite a lot. I'm pretty sure you can actually auto expire their account after a period of time, which might be quite useful if you're inviting in an extranet user for a particular project that's going to last 3 months. You don't want to have to sort of manage that process of disabling that user. You can automatically disable the user, I believe, after a period of time. Let me just show you how you might go into the CRM, how you might invite a user in using a business process if you have self-hosted. I don't think you can do this in the cloud. But, so I can go to my contact in the CRM, and this guy's placed an order with me, and he's now become a new client. I want to invite him in. I can do that using a form. So we have a process called make user. That sent me a notification. Okay, cannot create contact for following reason. Company does not have a work group. So in this case, we need to go into the company, and we need to run the business process on the company first. Create project. This will trigger a business process which creates a work group. Once I've done that, I won't do that now, it'll take a bit of time, but this create project allows me to complete a form which generates a work group in exactly the way we want to create a work group for our particular type of project. Once we've done that, we can then invite individual users from that company into that work group. So that's using a business process. It sounds like it's a long-winded process, but actually it's much quicker to do it that way. Once you've created the process, you can automatically then convert what is just an entity in the CRM to an actual user in the system, and send them an invite, a custom email with an invite link. We'll generate a username and password. Everything's done within one click. But I think the key to this, the main reason why you might want to do this, is that by just allowing users to run processes rather than go into the control panel or go into create work groups themselves and add people themselves and invite people and things, you can make sure that people do it in a structured manner. By inviting somebody and using this link, the business process will create them as an extranet user. It won't accidentally create them as a main user, which will give them access to the CRM and things. So it's a kind of better way of doing it, but it's not a standard way. You need to set the business process up. It's not too difficult. We can help you with it, I guess. Okay, so if you've got any questions, post them in. Post them in here. Should we have a look at sites or something like that?
Well, I think one of the questions that I get commonly asked is how can you touched upon it there in that processes, how can you actually create a project from whether it's a contact in the CRM, whether it's you've just won a deal and you want then to progress on to using the projects within Bitrix. And it's fairly straightforward business process that can be created on the cloud or the self-hosted. And I'll just briefly go into how we can set one of these up. So if we go into our CRM settings, click on automation, and then click on business processes, and we will add one. We'll create a project for a company. So we've already got one on here, but I will create a new one. It's fairly straightforward to create, and we'll call it Bitrix24 live project. And what we're going to do is we're going to manually run this business process. And the first thing that we need to do, you may have noticed when Damien clicked on create project last time, it popped up with a form. What we want to do is to be able to create that form, and to do that we just need to click on to parameters. And a parameter is you are therefore creating a new form field. So we may want project manager, and we'll give this manager. And what we can do here is we can give them the ability to select the project manager from the users that exist on the system.
Make it default.
and then add parameter. What we'll give it a project name.
You already have a project name, don't you? You already had a field called name, don't you? I think by default.
No, we're creating a custom form.
Oh right, okay.
Creating a custom form field. Yeah. So project name. And a string is basically just gives you the ability to add text and numbers and spaces. So we'll leave it as a string. We'll move that one up in the form, and then we'll finally just have members. So we'll have project members, and we'll have that as bind to user, and we'll have multiple on this one, so we can select multiple people.
Do we need
I think we should add
client? Are we doing this from a?
We're going to do it from a company. We're going to create a project from a company.
Automatically associated with the company.
What we could show you is how we can add a document. So let's just say this is going to be the project or project proposal, and we can add the ability to add a file. So we click on OK. So we've got four form fields there. Click on Save. And now what we want to do is we want to create our project. So let's just click on Other. And again, this is possible on the cloud and the self-hosted version of Bitrix. So we can say, give this a name so we can project creation. We're going to use our form field to generate the project name. So click into template parameters, and we've got a project name. Got the group owner. Again, we'll click into template parameters, and that's going to be the project manager. And then finally, we've got some group members who are going to be our project members here. And we can specify if we want this to be an extranet work group or just a normal intranet.
That's target site, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. We click on Save. So that's our work group that's been created. So that's our project space that our project members are going to come into. And what we want to do now is we can start creating a structure for this project. So it may be that first of all we create a new folder, and we'll call this proposal, and we'll have this on a particular. So we're going to create, what we're doing here is we're creating a folder for this particular project, and if we click into additional results, we can click into here, folder name, and we'll give it a project manager. So that is, we've created the folder. Now all we need to do is upload the file that we're uploading in the form to that specific folder. So we click on Drive Folder here, click into additional results, and we're going to put it within that particular folder. The file that we want to upload is available in template parameters, and we're going to upload it as the project manager. And you can do all sorts here, as Damien mentioned earlier. The whole purpose of this is to give it a structure and make sure that everything required in a project is added into a project. We can create tasks, so if we wanted to create a task here, we'll add one and we'll call it initial meeting. We'll create the task as the project manager again. We may want to add some participants into this task. And I think this is just giving you idea. The idea is
essentially from one form we'll create a series of standard tasks. So of course you can do all this. A user can do all this manually. They can create the work group. They can create the tasks. They can add the documents. They can invite users. But this does it in a structured manner.
Yeah, and when we want to add it to the work group, just go to Social Network Group, click on the three dots again, click on Additional Results, and you can assign it to the group ID that we've created. So let's save that and click on Save. So you can see here that this has been created. We've created it in the company template. So if we go to a company, let's go to Sheds Are Us, click into the top right, run workflow, and we've got Bitrix24 live project. So this, when we created the template parameters, these are the form fields we've got. So let's call this Bitrix24 live, and then we'll say, just call it Thursday, just in case we've got another.
And this is available on any edition, isn't it? I think probably apart from I think probably available on the free, isn't it? For any of this.
Yeah, you can create
any of this process.
So you can create. You can have this pop up, and let's just say template quote, just as an example. So you can see we've filled all this in. Click on start, and you can see that the workflow Bitrix24 live project has been completed. So what we should see now, when we go into Workgroups, you can see here that we've got Bitrix24 live Thursday. Click into it, you should be able to see the members that we invited into the project. So that's automatically preset. We should be able to see an initial meeting task that's been created. If you click into here, you can see again our project members are participants in the task. We've got a little bit of text in there. And then if we go to the drive, hopefully we've got a proposals folder. So we've got proposal documents here. We click into the proposal document. Hopefully we've got the quote template that we uploaded into the form.
I think another good reason why you might want to use a business process to create a project, a work group, and the tasks and things within a project is it's not in there. Where was it? Was it on a company, wasn't it? So let's go back in to the business process automation. Bitrix live project. So let's say you want to allow people to create their own projects, but actually they need approving before it's created. So you allow your individual project managers or salespeople to set these up, but you do need a manager to approve them before it goes ahead. You need to put in an approval element here. So we can have this additional stage that happens at the beginning. What we're going to have here is a yes or a no, a yes or a no. Should it be no, it's going to finish. We'd probably put a notification in there to say that it's been rejected. If it's approved, we're going to run through the process that's just happened there. Let's just add in these approval voters. So I'm going to put in myself. Please approve. Oops. Please approve. Please approve project. Some text about the project in here. You probably want to link to the project as well. We could put a URL in to link to the project and give them the option to accept or refuse here. And let's just make sure we put the right approval in person in there. Save that. Let's just apply that. And we go back into the CRM, just run it quickly again, into our company. Go to this one, as Andy did before, new Bitrix Live project. Give it a name, create the manager. We put in a manager in here. Actually, what we could have done in the process, if I go back into here, as the approver, you can either have this as an approver or as an acceptance. So if you want to create a project and assign it to someone and then ask them if they want to accept it, if you want them to accept it, you could have just gone into, I could go into here, go into my template parameters, select my project manager field here. So this will then make the person I add into the form here, which I added in as John Smith, the person that needs to approve this project. In this case, we've hard coded essentially one user in for this demo purpose. But I'm going to make John Smith the manager. I'm going to add in these other people like we did before. We'll put a file in. Just want to show you the first process. So it says workflow project started. close this down, we can see we have a workflow notification. If I click open that, please approve project description text. So we pop it open. You'll have a bit more content in there. You'll also be able to see who it's come from, who it's now currently with, a little bit more dynamic, and we can accept, refuse, we can actually delegate it. If I accept, we go back into the process. If I accept, it will trigger this process through here. Create the group, create the tasks, add the documents, etc. We're going to refuse it. So if I refuse it, it will just finish the process there. So it's just a way of adding an approval should you need somebody to approve a project, or a way of assigning a project to somebody and asking them to accept it, I guess. So just a reminder, we are Bitrix24 partners. There's our contact details. We're Interface. We're based in the UK. We have offices in the US and in Dubai. We can help you with demo, to explain the different editions of Bitrix, which one's right for you. We have a full implementation service, including customization and training. We provide ongoing telephone support as well. Wherever you are in the world, we can provide telephone support for you. I think we provide support from 6 a.m. GMT to 12 p.m. GMT, so quite a widespread, whether you're in the US or the Middle East. We really deal with the Far East, but in the Middle East or the US or Europe, we can look after you.
Okay, so another one of the questions that came in throughout the week, and something that's recently changed inside Bitrix, is if we go to the CRM and go to any one of the CRM sections, so leads, deals, companies and contacts. If we go into companies, and let's just jump into a company, what we had, if we just, let's give this a refresh, our monitor is a little bit, let's go into here.
Try the self-hosted. We have a problem with the screen, I think, for some reason on some of these records.
I just need to go into just one of the new features on the cloud versions. Here we go. So what we used to have inside Bitrix is the ability as an administrator to save this layout to all people. So it used to be called, I think it said save settings for all users. And that ability to do that was in this little gear icon here. So you can see on the screen, and in every section of Bitrix CRM, the left-hand side is the information section, and this is, just with regards to in this side, is a company. And as an administrator, we can hide fields, we can move fields around, we can show fields and build sections. Now, what's changed inside Bitrix is we have two views now. So we have a common view and we have a my view. So the common view is the view that an administrator can set. And the advantage of that is that nothing can be moved or hidden by a normal user, so a non-admin user. So the administrator sets the common view, all your other users views the common view. So we're logged in as an administrator in here, and if I switch to the common view form, then you can see this layout is different to my own personal view. So you can
you as a user not change this? Mind you're an admin now. Can you?
Yeah. So if you were to click on change as a non-admin, these gear icons wouldn't appear, so you wouldn't be able to hide, you wouldn't be able to edit the settings, and these dragging and dropping tools here do not appear for.
So you can't change at all the common view
as a non-administrator. It's a relatively new feature, and it's, like I say, something in our support that we've got asked quite a bit, and it's a really powerful tool now, because previously when you saved settings for all users, a standard user could hide these fields and make their own personal view. Now, if a user wants to do that, all they would need to do is switch to my form view, and you can then personalize your own view. So you can see here, this is different. So this is how I may want to look at it.
Because you can only display the fields that you have permission mind you, if you have permission to these records, you have permission to see all fields, don't you? So you could, in my view, then you could go into the bottom here and add field, couldn't you? A select field and select one of the fields that's not visible.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to add a custom field as a non-admin, but
No.
you'd be able to select existing ones. Yeah, certainly. So, so that's a really powerful feature, I think. Now, there's one thing on the self-hosted that we've created recently, and we have actually disabled the My View form for one of our clients. So what that generally means is that what your non-admin users get is exactly what your administrators set. It may be something that may be useful to you and quite important to you, because it is. I can see why it's really important to have a consistent layout and the fields that are being displayed. And again, so that will be possible, along with many customizations possible in the on-premise version of Bitrix. So if you do have any questions, just please put them in the box provided next to the YouTube video. I think we've just got 10 minutes left, so please get them in. I think we may have a time. We've got one more question, I think. Maybe a couple.
Okay.
I mean, we can touch upon where we were just saying about the customization ability of the on-premise version, because some people aren't aware that you can customize quite a lot of the on-premise version. And one of the features that we've created is a completely different layout to what you see here. So as standard, a user would see the activity stream when they log in. You can now change that, so if you wanted to make the CRM the home page, you can make the CRM the primary landing page. But on the self-hosted, you can actually create pages and dashboards for people to log into. So we have a couple of variations of this. We've created a home dashboard on here. So if we were to land, maybe not great with this background, so we could change a theme and just have the default. So you can see here, it's a completely different look, and it may be something that you want, or a customer of yours wants to see a widgetized view. So we've got latest news, we've got the activity stream here, and we've got some custom banners. And we can do that for the self-host, we can do that for the extranet if we wanted to as well. Everything's really easy to customize once the dashboard's in place. So as Damien's just seen there, you can easily just upload your own banners and your own videos with your links.
Put your link in, where does it want to go to? Add your image, and it'll display in here, and you can edit any of these items. This is a news story. If I edit that news story, I can do that using this pop-up editor tool, of course, to find which section it's going to be in, so people can find relevant news stories. So yeah, I can scroll over and edit on page any of these items. This is if I'm an admin. In the self-hosted, you have this additional control panel section at the top, which allows you to do some extra things.
Yeah, so that's one example of a dashboard and a custom page what you might want to use. The other thing that we've changed in Bitrix is the ability to post news articles. So you can see here that we have changed the standard. I think if we go to local, maybe global, I think it's the standard view on Bitrix is just a list of latest news. We've created a custom view. We can click into the view here, and you can see here that we've got the news articles. You can leave and post comments, and you can see a preview of the news. So there's a lot more things you can do with regards to the on-premise version. It is a fully customizable platform, and you can create your own custom dynamic pages in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they're good examples. The only other thing really is that if you were to log out, then you can create a custom login page as well. So you can have firstly your own URL, decide which URL you point your users to. Have your own design login page. Put your logo up here. Change some of these colours if you want to change these colours. But yeah, then change, create custom pages and things. When I pop this down here, I can create a page here using this little wizard. I can run through this wizard, create the page, create the menu item. In fact, this will automatically create a menu item for me. So there's a lot more to it. I think when you're using the self-hosted version, really it's really a platform you can build. You can really build anything on. Yeah. So if you've got any more questions, send them through. We'll just finish up in a couple of minutes if there's no more questions. With your contact details for a minute.
As we mentioned at the start, if you just joined, we are here every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and we can answer any questions that you may have or come across throughout the week of using Bitrix. If you subscribe to the Bitrix YouTube channel and switch your notifications on, you'll get a notification email sent to you each time we go live. And yeah, so if you've got any questions throughout the week, please send them to live@intraface.com and we'll go through each question like we have done today.
Okay, we've got a question about sites of Bitrix and e-commerce. So let's know your question. Integration. So Bitrix has online store now. So Bitrix has sites, which is relatively new and now launched e-commerce stores. So you can create with a drag and drop tool, create your page, create your products, add the price, add the payment gateway from a list of about 10 or 15 different payment gateway options, and you're away with an e-commerce store. How does it compare with Shopify? Well, I'm not too sure really, but too much about Shopify. I think in what respect, I suppose really you'd have to compare features that are critical to yourself. But I think in terms of cost, there's you can create a Bitrix store for free. So in terms of cost, it's very good. In terms of functionality, Bitrix has been building e-commerce sites for 15 years. So they know what they're doing. But yeah, it's fairly straightforward to take. I would guess you try both. If there's anything particular you need, then from one for an e-commerce site, then ask the question.
Yeah, with regard to how good is it with SEO? Well, obviously you can create your own titles, descriptions, tags, so we can see. I think
you can create your own description, tags, and keywords and things. But I think it also creates a sitemap for you, I would guess. But so you can do the basic SEO on page SEO. I think really SEO is all about creating links from other resources on the web. So really most SEO is done off the page, but you can I think the SEO really is how you create the page. So adding the right images with the right tags on the images, having the right keywords in the descriptions. So that's all about how you generate the content really. Bitrix gives you the tools to write those descriptions and tags and things in there, but you need to create them yourself and then create that off-site content that links to it. So we can't give any promises about SEO, but tools are there. Tools are there to do that.
Yeah, we've never integrated Shopify Lite with Bitrix before. Not saying it can't be done, but it's not something that we've worked with before.
How can I have the system schedule a date and time for an appointment and then send an automated text 2 hours prior to the appointment? System schedule a date and time for an appointment. So I guess you go into your CRM and it's going to a contact. There is a feature launcher. I don't know if they've launched it around creating appointments. Too sure. Let's go into this site. And go into our contacts. So we can create a meeting here. Let's create this meeting for tomorrow. I can set my time. I can drag this around, or I can set my time here. I can set the duration of that, and save it. But your specific appointment is to send a text 2 hours prior to the appointment.
I think what you would need to do, you would need to have pretty much like we did with the. Just quickly do this. We go into the settings. If you wanted to book an appointment with a company, and we'll call this a meeting, and we'll have it manually run. You would then, I don't know if we've got time for this, but you would then have to create a form field with a date and time. You would have to select the contact that you would want a meeting with. So you would create the form fields here. And then once you do that, you could create a calendar event. And you could even have a form field that said meeting, meeting title, and that would give you the title of the event. So we could bring in the parameter in here. We would have the start date as the form field date and time that you select, and you would have the finish time. And then what that would allow you to do is you would then propose a pause execution for, you said 2 hours prior to the time, so you would need to have pause it up to 2 hours prior, and then you would need to have, you can send an SMS through here. So you would need to do a very similar process to that, and then so you would trigger it by coming into a contact, clicking on here, clicking book meeting, filling out the details, and that would then trigger that particular process off.
Okay, got a question about what time we run these sessions. They're at 11 a.m. Eastern time every week. 10, yes indeed, 10 a.m. Eastern time every week. So it's the same time, New York time, every week, but it changes depending on, in the UK it's an hour earlier this week. The clocks change back in the US again next week, so it might change again, but it's check Eastern New York time, it's 10 a.m. New York time.
I would definitely recommend subscribing to the Bitrix channel, switching your notifications on, because like I say, that will then email you a notification that when we go live.
Yeah, I don't think you can watch unless you subscribe. It won't get the link. The link's always different every week. I think it generates a random link, so you need to be a subscriber to youtube.com/Bitrix24. Of course, subscribe to youtube.com/Intraface as well. But we post these, we run these on Bitrix24's channel, so subscribe to them.
Yeah, and I think just with regards to our previous ones, everything's recorded, everything's stored on the Bitrix channel. Mm-hmm. So if you've missed the start of this session today where we've talked about the CRM, project creation, you can look back on a bit later today.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for your time. See you next time.